Ever wonder what happens when you mix hot lava and chicken?
All right, imagine this. You're scrolling online and suddenly you see a headline so wild, you have to stop everything you're doing. Jack Black, yes, that Jack Black, supposedly paid AMC Theatres to erase every single Snow White movie off their screens. Crazy, right? Well, brace yourself, because the deeper you go into this story, the crazier it gets. Disney's latest attempt to reboot a beloved classic has completely exploded, pulling in major names like Rachel Zegler and Peter Dinklage, and sparking a controversy that's tearing Hollywood apart. But how did Jack Black, of all people, become the secret hero or villain in this drama? Stick around, because the twists and turns you're about to hear could change the way you see movies forever. Disney's live-action Snow White remake was supposed to be another guaranteed blockbuster, a nostalgic return to childhood memories wrapped in dazzling modern effects. Instead, it quickly became one of Hollywood's most polarizing projects in recent memory.
It does seem like the media have got the throw her under the bus green light, though, when we're posting things like this. We're slagging her off behind the scenes, we're dropping all the information, and then reminding you of, her attacking the majority of the population of America when she posted F the Orange Man.
From the moment Disney revealed plans to significantly alter the iconic storyline, a wave of criticism and skepticism erupted online. Fans of the original 1937 animated classic were stunned, even outraged, that Disney seemed determined to discard key elements they held dear. But controversy didn't stop there. Casting decisions only intensified the backlash. Rachel Zegler, the film's lead, faced immediate scrutiny after publicly criticizing aspects of the beloved original story. Instead of a fairy tale romance, Zegler emphasized a more independent, modernized Snow White, leading many viewers to accuse Disney of pushing an unnecessary agenda, overshadowing the timeless charm of the original. Social media quickly became a battleground. Die-hard Disney fans questioned why the company was seemingly alienating its core audience, while others argued that it was time for outdated narratives to evolve. And just when it seemed tensions couldn't escalate further, actor Peter Dinklage stepped into the spotlight with a critique so scathing it forced Disney into yet another controversial pivot, completely rethinking how they portrayed the iconic Seven Dwarfs. Yet even with the online firestorm growing daily, no one anticipated the bombshell that would follow. Disney, facing mounting pressure from fans, industry figures, and now even theaters, found itself in an unprecedented situation.
Snow White reviews are in. Snow White, how shall we say? Data points are in, because we now know that it was a flop.
One that threatened not only Snow White, but potentially its entire approach to classic remakes. And it was exactly this tension that set the stage for Jack Black's unexpected move. A twist so shocking, it left both Hollywood and audiences reeling. Rachel Zegler, initially seen as Disney's golden ticket to a fresh take on Snow White, quickly became a lightning rod for controversy due to a series of provocative interviews that shook fans to their core. Known for her candid, sometimes blunt personality, Zegler openly criticized the very story she was meant to bring to life, igniting a wave of backlash that rapidly engulfed social media. In one particularly controversial interview, Zegler dismissed the iconic romance from the original 1937 classic, stating bluntly, "It's not 1937 anymore. Snow White won't be dreaming of a prince, she'll be dreaming about becoming the leader she knows she can be." While her words resonated positively with some audiences who championed modern empowerment narratives, they simultaneously triggered an intense reaction from longtime fans who felt betrayed by the drastic shift in the storyline. The controversy intensified when Zegler openly labeled elements of the beloved original as dated and even problematic, causing many fans to feel alienated. Online discussions turned heated, with hashtags like #NotMySnowWhite trending across multiple platforms. The backlash escalated into calls for boycotts, fueling widespread speculation that the film was destined to fail before it even hit theaters. But Zegler didn't back down. Instead, she doubled down, responding to critics with sharp comments that many perceived as dismissive. Her public stance seemed to divide fans even more, splitting audiences into fiercely opposing camps, those who supported her vision of a progressive heroine, and those who accused her of disrespecting a cherished classic.
Just last week, the media and the shill influencers were trying to do everything they could to save Snow White from being a complete and total flop in the box office, and they failed miserably. This movie is already a complete and total disaster, and it is so bad that now even the media has to admit.
This intense division wasn't just happening among fans. Behind closed doors, Disney executives reportedly grew increasingly concerned about the film's rapidly deteriorating image. Zegler, once seen as the face of a modernized Disney princess era, was suddenly labeled a risky liability by industry insiders, and whispers began circulating about internal regrets over casting decisions. But as polarizing as Zegler's comments were, no one could predict the next twist in the drama. Because what happened next didn't just involve fans or executives. It involved another Hollywood heavyweight stepping into the fray, Peter Dinklage, and his explosive critique was about to add gasoline to an already raging fire. As tensions around Rachel Zegler's controversial remarks continued to flare, acclaimed actor Peter Dinklage stepped into the arena with a critique so pointed, it forced Disney into damage control mode overnight. Famous for his iconic role in Game of Thrones, Dinklage didn't mince words, blasting Disney for what he described as reinforcing harmful stereotypes with their depiction of dwarfs in the Snow White narrative. In a widely publicized interview, Dinklage unleashed a scathing criticism saying, "They're so proud to cast a Latina actress as Snow White, but they're still telling this backward story about 7 dwarfs living in a cave. What progress is that?" His words struck a nerve, igniting yet another intense debate on social media. On one side were those applauding Dinklage for addressing a serious representation issue. On the other, traditionalists claimed Disney was being unfairly targeted, arguing the beloved dwarfs were merely fantasy characters, not reflections of real-world stereotypes. Dinklage's comments had immediate consequences. Disney panicked, scrambling to address the PR nightmare by announcing drastic changes to the film. They declared the iconic 7 dwarfs would no longer be dwarfs at all, instead reimagining them as magical creatures of various sizes, genders, and backgrounds. But this hasty decision only intensified backlash further, as longtime fans felt the studio was abandoning its legacy to appease critics, while activists accused them of merely performing superficial damage control. Internally, Disney executives were reportedly stunned by the backlash from all sides. According to insider reports, the studio quickly descended into chaos.
I love what you said about wanting to entertain audiences, critics saying Disney's too woke, but you're just putting out storytelling.
We are. Look, I don't really like the term woke because I think it's an umbrella term that I'm not 100% sure I even know what it means.
Desperately attempting to balance traditional storytelling with the expectations of a modern audience. Rumors suggested emergency meetings were held to assess whether further rewrites or even reshoots might salvage the escalating disaster. But rather than calming the storm, Disney's frantic response seemed to fuel speculation that the studio had entirely lost control of the narrative. Just when everyone believed the drama couldn't escalate further, a completely unexpected figure stepped into the spotlight, none other than Jack Black himself, and his involvement would quickly become the most shocking twist in this unfolding Hollywood saga. Just when everyone thought the Snow White controversy couldn't get any crazier, Jack Black entered the scene, and his involvement sparked a wave of speculation that left the entire industry buzzing. Black, beloved for his quirky humor and energetic personality, is not the first celebrity you'd expect to dive into such a divisive Hollywood scandal, but he did exactly that, taking a surprisingly firm stand against the direction Disney was heading. Rumors began swirling when insiders leaked that Jack Black, reportedly a longtime fan of classic Disney films, had become privately frustrated by the ongoing controversies surrounding the Snow White remake. Sources close to Black indicated he felt strongly that Disney's drastic alterations were not only unnecessary, but also disrespectful to Walt Disney's original vision. Initially, the actor kept his views out of the public eye, but eventually reports surfaced suggesting that Black had reached out directly to influential figures within AMC Theatres to voice his concerns. What happened next was explosive. Allegedly, Black went beyond mere complaints, actively lobbying AMC executives to reconsider showing the film altogether. While some skeptics dismissed these claims as wild rumors, the whispers grew louder, fueled by cryptic social media posts and off-the-record comments from industry insiders.
Rachel Zegler then inexplicably continued to post herself in an empty theater for her own movie. literally the only person there. Meanwhile, the experience at Minecraft...
People started questioning, did Jack Black really wield enough influence to sway one of America's biggest cinema chains? As speculation mounted, Black himself remained unusually silent on social media, adding fuel to the fire. The lack of denial from both the actor and AMC only deepened the mystery. Fans began dissecting every small detail, wondering if Black's outspoken love for classic animation had genuinely driven him to take such a drastic stand against Disney's modern reinterpretation. Memes and fan theories flooded online communities, turning what started as a simple rumor into a viral sensation that no one could ignore. Then came the bombshell. AMC unexpectedly announced they were pulling Disney's Snow White remake entirely, causing shockwaves across Hollywood. While AMC cited vague reasons like scheduling conflicts and poor market projections, anonymous sources hinted strongly at behind-the-scenes influence, pointing directly to Jack Black's involvement. Though AMC never publicly confirmed these rumors, the timing was suspiciously aligned with reports of Black's secret campaign. This unprecedented move raised huge questions, not just about Black's surprising leverage, but about the broader implications for Hollywood itself. Was this the moment actors began taking control back from studios, defending artistic integrity over corporate mandates? As audiences scrambled to digest this shocking development, reactions were swift and sharply divided, setting the stage for yet another chapter of controversy and heated debate. The decision by AMC Theatres to completely remove Disney's live-action Snow White remake from their lineup sent shockwaves through Hollywood, leaving audiences, insiders, and industry veterans utterly stunned.
Go something like this.
Chicken
This wasn't just any ordinary scheduling adjustment. It was a bold and seemingly unprecedented move that raised serious questions. Had AMC truly buckled under pressure from Jack Black, or was there something deeper at play? AMC's official statement was deliberately vague, citing broad reasons like audience reception concerns and market viability. But this explanation felt hollow to many who sensed there was more beneath the surface. Industry insiders quickly began whispering that AMC's decision was far less about business metrics and far more about the intense backlash surrounding the film, bolstered by influential voices like Jack Black himself. Sources close to AMC executives revealed privately that the decision had been agonizing, but necessary. Allegedly, AMC had been flooded with messages from angry patrons threatening boycotts if the controversial film went forward. Executives reportedly realized the risk of backlash was far greater than any financial gain they stood to make from ticket sales. It wasn't merely about profitability. AMC was actively trying to protect its brand from becoming embroiled in the spiraling controversy. Social media exploded immediately after the news broke, with fans on both sides fiercely debating the implications. Supporters of the film accused AMC of caving to internet outrage, warning it set a dangerous precedent for future projects facing controversy. Meanwhile, critics of the remake celebrated, calling AMC's decision a victory against studios that disregard fans in pursuit of trendy agendas. Interestingly, Disney remained noticeably quiet, offering only a restrained public comment expressing disappointment at AMC's choice, but avoiding any direct confrontation. However, behind closed doors, insiders hinted at panic sweeping through Disney's top brass. Executives were reportedly scrambling, attempting to assess just how much this incident could harm the company's reputation long-term. This wasn't just another failed release. This was a PR disaster on an epic scale, potentially jeopardizing the viability of future remakes. Yet, amid all this chaos, attention returned repeatedly to Jack Black's alleged involvement. Did the comedic star genuinely exert enough pressure to cause AMC, one of the nation's largest theater chains, to fold so dramatically? Or was AMC simply seizing a convenient opportunity to distance itself from a project already doomed to controversy? As speculation swirled, one thing was clear. AMC's drastic move had not only changed the trajectory of this film.
Snow White, the toe-curlingly terrible live-action remake, has bombed so hard at the box office that even Paul Tassi had to admit it. It got $43 million, and there are very few ways to spin that.
But also reshaped the broader conversation around Hollywood's endless cycle of remakes, reboots, and reinterpretations. And just when viewers thought the controversy had peaked, the reactions from the public and entertainment industry insiders insiders would add yet another explosive chapter to this already unbelievable story. The moment AMC announced it would remove Disney's Snow White remake from theaters, social media exploded into a frenzy, rapidly dividing fans, industry figures, and media commentators alike. What began as a controversial film quickly became an unprecedented Hollywood scandal, pushing conversations about creative integrity and audience expectations to the forefront. Fans of Disney classics immediately praised AMC's move, celebrating it as a bold rejection of Hollywood's seemingly relentless drive to transform timeless stories into vehicles for contemporary messaging. Viral posts spread across platforms like Twitter, TikTok, and Reddit, with comments flooding in from those who felt vindicated, claiming AMC had listened to fans tired of being lectured instead of entertained. However, the decision also sparked intense backlash from supporters of the film and its more modern narrative. They accused AMC of caving to a minority of vocal critics, branding the theater chain's actions as a dangerous precedent that might empower backlash movements to target future movies over ideological disagreements. Influential entertainment critics entered the debate, suggesting that this decision reflected a worrying trend where public outrage could dictate what films reach theaters. Celebrities, too, became part of the conversation. Several Hollywood figures subtly expressed support for AMC's bold stand, hinting at a deeper frustration within the industry about studios overly relying on remakes and reboots lacking genuine creative vision. Others stood by Rachel Zegler and Peter Dinklage, criticizing AMC's decision as reactionary.
Like, it was a really, really, really bad flop. Now, things I do for you guys. I went to Snow White over the weekend. I took my kids. I'll tell you, I'm not sure who was more bored.
Even labeling it as censorship by another name. Within industry circles, the debate was equally fierce. Anonymous studio executives spoke candidly about the chilling effect AMC's action could have on future projects. Some insiders suggested this incident would lead studios to reconsider their approaches, not just in storytelling, but in marketing and casting, fearful of alienating core audiences. Others predicted studios might simply double down, resisting external pressure to avoid appearing weak or indecisive. For Rachel Zegler, the aftermath was especially harsh. While initially seen as Disney's new leading princess, industry whispers quickly branded her involvement in the film as career-threatening. Casting directors and producers, wary of controversy, reportedly hesitated to attach her to major projects. Overnight, Zegler went from being celebrated to becoming Hollywood's cautionary tale, illustrating how swiftly public perception can shift and influence an actor's career trajectory. Jack Black, meanwhile, continued to remain conspicuously quiet, fueling endless speculation about his true role in the drama. Fans dissected every minor detail, hunting for clues about whether Black had genuinely spearheaded AMC's decision, or if his involvement had been exaggerated to enhance an already sensational story. And just as viewers thought they'd seen every twist possible, Hollywood insiders began asking a critical new question. Was this the tipping point that might finally force Disney, and perhaps even other studios, to rethink their entire approach to beloved classics? What came next, nobody could have predicted. AMC's stunning decision to pull Disney's Snow White remake wasn't just another isolated Hollywood scandal. It signaled something far deeper, raising critical questions about the future of entertainment itself. Suddenly, the entire industry had to grapple with the unsettling reality.
This thing was a disaster. It only made $43 million at the box office, which is really bad for a movie like this. I don't have the numbers at the top of my head, but I want to tell you, Cinderella, which was a number of years ago, don't forget how much inflation has happened.
Audiences weren't just tired of controversial reboots, they were starting to actively reject them, reshaping Hollywood's playbook entirely. Industry analysts began warning that the controversy surrounding Snow White might represent a tipping point. For years, Hollywood had banked heavily on nostalgia, believing beloved franchises guaranteed box office gold. But now, with audiences showing their willingness to boycott films they felt abandoned authenticity, studios faced a brutal wake-up call. Reboots weren't bulletproof, and nostalgia had limits. The debate quickly expanded beyond Snow White, prompting discussions on the broader implications for studios, filmmakers, and actors alike. Insiders noted an emerging divide. On one side stood traditionalists who believed classic stories deserved preservation, while on the other were modernists pushing for storytelling to reflect current cultural values. With AMC's unprecedented move, studios found themselves trapped between these conflicting demands, uncertain how to proceed. Hollywood executives privately admitted to reevaluating upcoming projects, reconsidering not just the casting or marketing strategies, but the very foundations of their storytelling approach. Reports suggested Disney itself faced internal pressure to rethink its lineup of planned live-action adaptations. Rumors emerged that other studios were closely watching the fallout, wary of committing millions to projects that could trigger similar public outrage and financial risk. For actors, the situation was equally challenging. Rachel Zegler's experience served as a cautionary tale, making talent across Hollywood increasingly cautious about attaching themselves to potentially divisive projects. Casting directors began prioritizing safer choices, with whispers of nervous studios pulling back from experimental or provocative remakes altogether.
And you still think it's because you're a good person and everybody else isn't, not because you're missing something, being the forest for the trees. So, I just wanted to let you know how the entire world feels about you and your exceptional take.
Critically, this incident highlighted how audiences were becoming active participants in shaping the industry's direction. Social media granted fans unprecedented power to mobilize opinion, dramatically altering a film's prospects long before its premiere. AMC's removal of Snow White underscored this newfound influence, demonstrating to studios that ignoring audience sentiment could carry catastrophic consequences. Jack Black's rumored involvement further emphasized another trend: the willingness of established stars to publicly challenge studio decisions, signaling an unprecedented power shift where actors leveraged their popularity to influence industry outcomes. His actions, whether exaggerated or genuine, symbolized a broader movement toward artistic integrity and respect for original storytelling, a stance resonating strongly with disillusioned audiences. In the end, AMC's dramatic removal of Snow White wasn't merely about one movie, it was a warning shot across Hollywood, forcing everyone, studios, filmmakers, actors, and audiences, to reconsider what truly matters in cinematic storytelling. But just as the dust began to settle, audiences were left with one lingering, provocative question. Had Disney's era of endless remakes finally reached its breaking point, or would Hollywood stubbornly push forward, risking everything? And as shocking as this story was, it hinted at an even larger shift looming over Hollywood, one that might change filmmaking forever. Ultimately, the drama surrounding Jack Black's alleged influence on AMC's removal of Snow White wasn't just about a single controversial film. It reflected a seismic shift in Hollywood's relationship with its audience.
Minecraft in the United States in one weekend made more money than Snow White has made globally after 3 weekends.
This unprecedented saga showcased how quickly a beloved classic could turn into a battleground, highlighting the deep divide between tradition and modern reinvention. For Disney, the fallout was devastating, forcing executives to reconsider not only future projects, but also their entire creative philosophy. Rachel Zegler's swift fall from grace illustrated the unpredictable risks actors now faced, while Jack Black's rumored intervention symbolized a bold new era where stars could potentially reshape industry decisions. More than anything, this controversy proved how powerful audience sentiment had become, capable of influencing massive corporations and altering the entertainment landscape overnight. Hollywood now stood at a critical crossroads, forced to decide whether to continue down a path of remakes and reboots or embrace authentic storytelling that genuinely resonates with viewers. As the dust settles, the questions remain. Will Disney learn from this lesson and approach future adaptations with more respect for their original magic, or will studios continue to gamble with audience loyalty? One thing is clear: the age-old tale of Snow White has sparked a modern-day reckoning, leaving both audiences and industry insiders wondering what Hollywood's next chapter might look like.